Listen, I am not afraid of an uncomfortable situation, okay? I run to them. If you want to try to make me uncomfortable by talking about something, come try after service. Like, it'll be fun. Today, we're talking about something that's super uncomfortable for a lot of people, and that is money. And so, to ease the tension, we're just going to go around the room one by one and each share our annual income so we know where we're at before we begin. So, we're going to start over here. And then we're going to carry on. The college students, you guys are exempt. We know yours is a negative number, so you guys are good to go. No, it's a good topic, and it's something that I know makes some people uncomfortable. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about because I genuinely believe that the way you handle your money will change your life in one way, shape, or form. It's going to change your life. And Jesus knew that, and that's why he talked about money almost more than anything else that he ever talked about was about money and our relationship with money and what we do with our money. But at the end of the day, at the end of this series on being filthy rich, who doesn't want to be filthy rich? If you've ever wanted to be filthy rich, raise your hand. Everyone who keeps it down, you're a liar. And that's okay. You're allowed to lie in church today and today only. That's it. But so much of our life is focused around the bottom line, like dollars. Everything comes back to it. Are we going to have enough to pay our bills? What are we making in our job? How do we pay for our kids? Because we all know that was the most expensive decision you've ever made in your life, was having a child. You know, as soon as you left the hospital and got a bill, you made a decision. You know, and I know it. I've been there, and now my kids are old enough that I look at my grocery bill, and I don't know where this food goes. Like, it just disappears. You put it on the shelf, the next day, not there. I don't know if there's a magical fairy in my house or Elijah just likes snacking, but it's a lot that just goes. We have budgets that some of us stick to. Some of us hear the word budget and get really excited. Some of us hear the word budget and cringe with every part of your being. Some of you don't even know what a budget is. And okay, we'll talk about that in this series. But really, the way I want you guys to win at money. I want you to win with your money because it's going to change so much about your physical life, but it's going to change so much about your spiritual life. The way that we handle our money reflects and drags across all those things. But there are things that we know about money, things we don't know about money. Sometimes we have to do these things called taxes, and we're all faking it year after year. Can we all just be honest? Like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I kind of don't, and I'm hoping I check the right boxes, okay? Or you start looking into cryptocurrency and trying to figure out what is that. Do I invest in that? Do I not invest in that? Is it dumb? Is it awesome? Am I like late to the bandwagon on this one? Like, where are we at? Like, there's so much that we don't know. Here's some things that I do know heading into a series about money. Here are 3 things that Dave knows about money. Are you ready? This is it. Number 1, money is deeply personal, extraordinarily personal. You have a very complicated relationship with money. We all do. If you and money were in a relationship status on Facebook, you would mark it's complicated. Because, like, yeah, okay, sometimes we own our money, sometimes our money owns us. But so much about this, your wallet, your pocketbook, your bank account, and your heart are tied together. There's some sort of connection here that happens. It's deeply personal, the way that we handle our money. Deeply personal. I have no cash in my wallet, so if you want to steal it, you're welcome to. I don't know what cash is anymore. I haven't seen it in a while. But we have a deep personal relationship with money. Second thing I know, as people, we are riddled with discontentment. Riddled with discontentment. We get everything that we need to survive, and then all of a sudden what were wants become our next needs. And our next needs become it just keeps going, and it keeps going. When you get what you want, your appetite for more never stops. It just doesn't. We're always looking ahead to the next thing, or we get our bank account to the number that we want it to be at, and now we have a new number that we want it to be at. Some of you don't even know what your bank account number is, and that's a different conversation for another day. But like, there's always something more, and that's why the national debt in America is crazy, but the average is $90,000 per American individual of debt. That's crazy. Some of you are like, whoa, that's nuts. Others of you are like, oh, that's not enough, because you know that feeling, and you know it very, very well. Like, it's a problem. Debt is a problem. This is also another thing that I know. Rich is a moving target. As soon as you think that you know what it's going to take to feel rich, you get there, and that target is miraculously not there anymore, but it keeps moving and keeps getting further and further away. And as your status rises, so does that target. and we keep looking ahead to that. The more we have, the more we need. Like, I know all of these things about money. I also know that we're really quite fascinated with rich people because we all are like, oh, what would that life be like? If you've wondered what it's like to be filthy rich, I'm right there with you. I've wondered what that would be like, and I have great plans for what will happen when that someday breaks through because my career as a pastor is going to take me places financially. No, but in all reality, like we are fascinated with rich people. I've spent a lot of time on stages and with performing artists who are worth a lot of money. I've spent time rubbing elbows with people who are worth tens of thousands of dollars, people who are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, people who are worth $1 million, people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And you know what they all have in common? They're just people, right? They're people, but what they can do with their money is very different than what I can do with my money. And I experienced one of the most eye-opening shows I've ever been a part of when I'm working for Snoop Dogg a couple of years ago. And it was eye-opening in a number of ways. First of all, the smell. It was a little green outside in smell. And I won't forget that. And my eyes burned, so my eyes literally were open. But then I saw things in that show that I have never seen before. And I told you last week I'm bringing something from that show, and there were really two big things that he used as visual elements on that stage, one of which is never going to be appropriate for a church stage. So that one stayed away. They were tall and shiny, and people used them, and it was bad. He put the filthy in filthy rich, okay? Let me just say that. That's what Snoop Dogg did. But he also, he showed up on stage, and he had my favorite prop that I've ever seen. And he goes around stage, and he's singing, and all of a sudden, he's making it rain money. And all this money just starts flying. Oh, I got stuck. Oh, there we go. And all this money starts flying, and I thought, if I could have a person go behind me everywhere I go with one of these, my life would be awesome. First of all, because everybody's going to stop and be like, oh, yeah, look at that guy. Also, it looks like a taser, and so if you mess with me, you're going down also. But he's throwing this money around, and he's got this money gun going. And if we could walk around life with somebody who's just providing for our every need, wouldn't that be the greatest thing ever? Where money just shows up. You want this? All right, money shows up, and here we go. And we're off to the next thing. And I used real money, by the way, so that's not true. I don't have cash. That's funny. Yeah, I saw that. You went and got it. I like it. But wouldn't that be incredible if we had somebody just follow us around and just throw money at us whenever we needed it, or what life would be like to have that? Elon Musk, the wealthiest person in the world right now, has a net worth of over $300 billion, which is absurd. Absurd. What do you do with that? It's growing by billions daily. What do you do with that? I wouldn't even know. It's actually, if you look at the statistics, he has a net worth that is 2 million times more than the net worth of an average American. That's crazy. It's absurd. Or my friend Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not my friend, but that would be fun to hang out with him. He has the greatest quote I've ever read about money. This is it. Go ahead. Money doesn't make you happy. I now have $50 million, but I was just as happy when I had $48 million. So there you go. You got it right from the source. Like, money's not going to buy happiness. He told you so. You can look at a series like this about being filthy rich and think, I am not filthy rich, so this is not a series for me. And if you're here and you're thinking, I want to get filthy rich, I'm going to tell you how. You need 2 of your friends to each get 2 of their friends, and then their friends get their friends. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. That is called a pyramid scheme, and that is highly frowned upon. But I confidently can tell you, as I've prepared for this series, as I've prayed through this series, God has something for you in this. God has a message for you to hear in this today. I know without a shadow of a doubt. We think about rich as being like this thing I'm going to achieve someday, but rich is not a number. Rich is a comparison word. Rich is a word that you look at and go, well, they have more than I do, so they are rich. I am not. We do that. That's how we view riches, as a comparison. There was a Gallup poll that happened in the last couple of years that went out and asked people, first of all, how much money do they make, and what would they need to make to feel rich? And to a T, everyone who answered that survey told them what they need to feel rich was exactly 2 times what they were making now. Everyone. So their feeling of being rich was all different than each other's, yet at the same time, everyone had this internal instinct that I've got to make twice as much as I make now, and then I'll be comfortable, and then I'll feel like I've got it all together. Actually, the research that goes behind this is really quite fascinating. Just listen to this. This is from Gallup and the Brookings Institute. The average salary in the world in 2020 was $9,480 annually. $9,480 annually was the global average salary. Their findings also say that if you make an annual salary of $33,000 per year, an annual salary of $33,000 per year, you are in the top 3% of income earners in the world. You are in the top 3%. If you make $50,000 or more, you are in the top 1% of the world. It's eye-opening to look at some of these things. And now I realize that where a dollar goes in America is different than how far a dollar stretches in other countries. There's a lot that goes into this. But if you can see this perspective, a lot of us are more wealthy than we really believe that we are. A lot of us have more money than we think that we do. Or if this is another one, if you have just $4,200 to your name in assets, $4,200 to your name, you are richer than half of the world's residents. There's a perspective to be gained from here. But the problem is we don't feel rich. We don't feel like we've got as much as we'd like or as much as we need. We don't feel rich. We aren't Scrooge McDuck diving off our diving board into a vault filled with gold coins and just going for a swim as if it's a liquid when you know it's not, and that's not physically possible. But man, it would be fun, right? Like, that would be fun. We don't feel like that. But here's the thing. If you've ever struggled with slow internet, that's a rich person problem. If you have a favorite brand of bottled water, that's a rich person problem. If you can't decide where to go on vacation, or your flight gets delayed, or you have bad cell phone coverage, or you've gone into a store to buy a new phone when you have a perfectly usable one in your pocket, that's a rich person problem. We've been there. Many of us have been there. Many of us have. But we don't feel rich. And telling you that and helping you realize that you probably have more riches than you think you do doesn't make you jump up and go, yay, I'm rich, I've arrived. Because you haven't. Like, none of us feel that way. None of us do. But Paul talks about money in his writings a lot. Jesus talked about money in his teachings a lot for good reason, because what you do with that will make or break your spiritual relationship with God. What you do with that will change the way that you view the world. What you do with that will change the world around you by the way that you handle your money. And so Paul is addressing a group of people in the book of 1 Timothy. If you want to flip there, if you brought your Bibles, it's second half of the Bible is the New Testament. It's toward the end of that, 1 Timothy, or if you want to flip on your phone, you're welcome to do that, or take this home and look at this later. 1 Timothy, he's talking to a group of people who are really quite upset that they weren't rich. They didn't feel rich. And Paul tells them, hey, like, there are a whole lot of problems that come with being rich. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to worry about. There's this thing called greed that's going to start to creep in when you start, like, looking through the lens of wanting more. And he's challenging them, challenging them to be content with what they have. He says, if you have food and clothing, be content with that. Be content with that. But we aren't. We're not content with that. We are a deeply discontent people. But Paul is teaching, and Jesus taught over and over and over again this line: you have everything you need. If you're here and you ate breakfast, or you chose to skip it because you chose to, and you are clothed, which, thank you, by the way, each of you. This is a very different type of environment. Some of you online, I can't speak for you. You do you, like you, go ahead. I'm not here to judge, but please don't show me. If you have those basic needs met, you got something going for you. Anything on top of that is what he starts to call riches. And when we start thinking, well, riches aren't for me because I'm not rich, maybe you have more than you think, because these riches are anything you have more than your basic needs met. Anything you have over that. And he teaches us it's not about what you have, it's what you do with what you have that will count for or against you in the kingdom of God. What you do with what you have is the biggest deal breaker and the biggest challenge that we have in front of us. So he says this in 1 Timothy 6, starting in verse 17. He says, command those who are rich in this present world. And for some of you, it's really quick to tune out right here because I'm not rich. This is not me. But if you have anything more than your basic needs covered, he is talking to you. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant nor put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain. Now, he doesn't go on and say having money is a sin. He doesn't go on and say that money is going to lead to every evil in your life. No, he says that the love of money is what will lead to evil because you start putting your value in the wrong things. The problem for us is money can become a substitute for God because we start to find our dependence on that rather than our dependence on the creator of the universe to sustain us and to carry us forward. And we start getting more and more self-sufficient, and it becomes more and more challenging to trust God. It becomes more and more challenging to lean on God as your source of strength and your source of hope and your source of all things good because I can just go get this. And it becomes really challenging. That's why there were so many challenges put out there by Jesus for rich people to be really careful. He wasn't saying it is wrong for you to be rich. He was saying it's hard for you to be rich. Because it gets a grip on our heart and it changes the way we live. Now, I'm a person who thoroughly loves people watching. Anyone a people watcher? Good. People watching is great fun. I could just sit, I'm going to be that old guy who sits in his garage in the lawn chair and just watches people. Okay, I want to know what age you need to be to arrive to that status because I am ready. But I love people watching. So I'm out with our small group on Halloween. We went trick-or-treating together. A bunch of us were in a small group. Shout out to our small group. Whoop, whoop. Yep. A couple of them are here. So we went out, we're trick-or-treating, and I'm wearing this inflatable sumo wrestler costume who's wearing nothing but a Speedo, because why not? And I'm going out and around, and Elijah makes a joke about how it looks like I have a wedgie because of the way that the seam is on the back of the costume. So I spent the night pretend picking my wedgie just to see how many people would notice. Turns out it's 2, just in case you wanted to know. And at one point, he leaned over to me. He's like, "Dad, it's getting so cold out." And I looked at him. I said, "You're telling me I didn't wear anything under this?" And he looked at me like, "What?" I'm kidding, buddy. I've got 15 layers under this thing. I'm good. Don't worry about me. But we're trick-or-treating, and we're going through town in the beautiful village of Shepherd. And there was one table set up that a business was offering trick-or-treating, and they had this little table and display and handouts for their business. And at that table, there's candy for the kids, but there's also water bottles. And I'm like, oh, a promotional water bottle. Okay, those are a dime a dozen. Those are everywhere. But inside these water bottles were a lotto ticket. And as soon as parents saw that there was a lotto ticket in this thing, and I'm not just talking in our small group, I'm talking like parents, you'd think that they didn't even realize they had children anymore because they ditched their children so fast and they went running and they got this lotto ticket and this hope for riches, and their kids are like, "Where'd my parents go?" It's almost like somebody in the back corner of the room opened up a fresh bag of Oreos and it's like, "I'm going there." That's what I would do, okay? So that's my comparison. But so often, we look at that and we get these little moments of, "Ooh, that would be fun if I had extra money," or "That would be fun. What if I win that thing?" I can't tell you how many people have told me, "If I win this lottery, church is going to have a building tomorrow." We still don't have a building yet, so nobody's won. Or they're lying to me. And if I'm being really honest, there are a lot of people who have said that to me that I want to look back at them and just seriously, this is gut level honesty, and say, "No, you wouldn't, because you don't give now." And I don't say that because that's mean and not helpful in any way, shape, or form. But the way that you handle the money you have now is a direct reflection of how you're going to handle your money if you have more. And so there's a heart issue at the end of the day of how are we taking care of what we've been given? How are we using those things? Are we using them for the greater good? And honestly, if you want to give to the building fund, we've got a challenge right now. Go ahead, do it. You don't even need to win the lottery. Challenge taken, okay? Good. But having more money won't meet your deepest needs. It won't. Money won't fulfill your heart's desires. Only God will. Money will not fill your heart's desires. So often we chase after that dollar bill as if it's going to solve our world's problems, as if it's going to give us everything that we've ever wanted. But here's the deal. It can buy you your favorite Starbucks holiday drink. And thank the Lord we're in holiday drink season and not pumpkin spice latte season anymore. Sorry about that. It can buy you your favorite drink, but it cannot save your soul. It can't. There's only one source that can. It can buy you all sorts of physical comforts. It could give you the greatest car. It could give you the biggest house. It could give you the most comfortable bed you've ever laid on in your life. It could give you a nice couch to sit in at the end of the day after you've worked your butt off at work. It could buy you all of those things that give you comfort, but it will not bring peace to your spirit. It won't. It can't. It does not have that ability. It can beef up your bank account. It can add zeros to the end of your numbers. It can do that. I can do that too. I'll give you 0 and you can add it to your bank account right now. And there's another 0. You can add zeros to your bank account. You can beef it up. You can make it everything you've ever wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, you're going to die and you don't get to take it with you. Like Scripture literally says you came into the world with nothing. You're going out of the world with nothing. I don't even need the Bible to tell me that. I know that. You don't get to keep it. And so we put so much of our hope and our security in this dollar bill when at the end of the day, the only source of eternal security comes from having a relationship with Jesus. Like that's it. That's the only thing. And so when we put money as our priority, when we put money as the thing that we are looking for, the thing that we need to keep us going, we keep chasing after this person to follow us around, what you're going to find is that this is a really fickle source that runs dry. And now what do? Because money does this. Money takes us on a ride where we get really excited and then we lose it. And things go up and down and our job status changes or housing changes or something in our life changes. It's a really, really fickle source. So Timothy says, don't be arrogant or put your hope in wealth, which is so uncertain. But instead, check this. But put your hope in God who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Put your hope in God who provides everything for your enjoyment. Do you see this word enjoyment? I love this word enjoyment in here. Yes, you can enjoy what you've got. The problem is we're discontent, and so we don't. And our discontentment kills our enjoyment of what God has already given us. And that's a dangerous place to be in. That's dangerous. Because we start thinking about what's next and what's more, and our target starts moving again further and further and further away. There was a guy in the Old Testament who wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, who was searching for joy and hope and all things good and all wisdom. He's trying to figure out where this is all coming from, and he says one of the most beautiful things in Ecclesiastes 5. He says, "Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, this is a gift from God." Because it's so rare that we just stop and enjoy what God has given us and go, God, you have blessed me. You've taken care of me. Thank you. Thank you. See, our financial situations sometimes become like the stock market that kind of does one of these all the time, and we're hoping it moves in the right direction because my retirement is banking on that someday. Like we hope it moves up and to the left, but sometimes it does one of these, and so do we. Our bank account looks like this. Often, some of you, again, don't know what your bank account looks like. That might be a good place to start and just see where you're spending money and what's going on. But it's this nauseating roller coaster ride of emotions if you start following money. It's like watching a Lions game. You know, you just, first quarter, second quarter, third, no. And I'm really thankful that we've got a bye week this week because I need to recover from last week. It was really hard to watch. But if you've been in a place where you are at the top, you know what it feels like to be riding high and to just experience what that's like. If you are down at the bottom and you're struggling to pay bills, and I get it, I've been there. Like I know what it's like to have to strategically decide when to pay the bill because you don't know when that amount's going to be in your account. I know what that feels like. If you've been there, one of the most beautiful things about being a part of a church community, the very first church community, their biggest act of generosity was they sold all of their wealth and possessions and gave to other people as they had it in need. And you get to be a part of that as a church when we give to the needs around us, when we help each other out. And sometimes helping each other out is a financial thing, but more often it's resources of how to handle what you've been given. It's resources of actually looking at your money and creating a budget. And it's looking at how is this money coming in? Where is this money going out to? Some of you have no idea where your money goes every couple of weeks after you get paid. You have no idea. And you would be shocked if you actually looked. Others of you know to the penny where your money goes. And there are resources to help you, and we're going to share a ton of these resources throughout the series. We're going to share some on our website and on social media. There's a couple of books at the store if you want to dig into this a little bit more. There's a book by Andy Stanley called How to Be Rich. which is a really great biblically minded book of how to handle money and how to have a good perspective on money. If you want more nitty gritties, Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover will probably change the way you look at money that way too. There's a ton of different ones, and we're going to share a ton of different resources with you. Those are just two of my favorites that I've read through. But we want to help you. We want to help each other. But at the end of the day, the thing I need you to know before we even get any further into this series is that your hope will never come from having money. Your hope will never come from having more and more riches. It can't, because it will dry up and it will go away and your life will just fall apart because of that. Your hope cannot be in that. Your hope has to be in God, who is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and will never change. Your money situation will change. Your God does not. He cares for you. He will provide for you. He promised that he will care for the birds of the air, and if he cares for them, how much more does he care for you? He promises that he's got a cattle on 1,000 hills, and his well will never run dry. Like, he is going to take care of you. God has promised to take care of you. So let him. Let him. And I'm talking even beyond finances right now. If you need to let God take care of you, and you need to put your faith in something other than yourself because ourselves do this, we are not reliable sources. Like, God promises that he will take care of you. God promises that he has a hope and a future for you. God promises that he will give you eternal security if you let him, if you trust in his son Jesus, who died for you and for me. And if you're ready to take that step of faith, whether that's with money or just your life in general, let us know on that Connect card, because I want to help resource you and I want to help you take that next step of faith. And maybe for some of you, that next step of faith is really just publicly surrendering to Jesus in everything, more than just money, just everything. And we're going to have a baptism Sunday in here in 2 weeks, right here. And we would love to help you take that next step of faith and be baptized here in this room and let Jesus just wash over you and give you everything that you need. It's a beautiful, life-changing moment. But there's something so beautiful that happens when we change from a dependence on ourselves and a dependence on our money to a dependence on God. There's something that will dramatically change in you, and you will start winning with money, and you'll start understanding what's going on, and you will thank God for every gift and find enjoyment in that, because it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. In the next few weeks of this series, we're going to take you into some nitty-gritties. We're going to take you into some how-tos and some practicals and how to actually win with your money and how to be successful with it. Next week, my wife and I are going to co-teach up here, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. She's a lot cuter than I am, so you can look forward to that. But we're going to put the filthy in filthy rich. We're going to talk about how to get filthy with your money. And actually what we're going to be talking about is how you can be more comfortable with your money and also help other people along the way. How you can do both at the same time, because it's possible and it's beautiful when that happens. So I want to encourage you and invite you. You're going to get 2 invite cards on the way out. Invite 2 people to come check that out, because again, the way that we handle our money will change lives. It will change your life. It'll change your spiritual life. It'll change your physical life. It will change you. And so invite people to come with you. If you're online, just click share and share to a couple of people. Invite them, tag them, do whatever you want to do. Invite them to be a part of this next week. But we'll talk more about that. But before we turn you loose for the day, here's what I want to do. I want to invite all of you to stand, just where you're at. If you're online and can stand, awesome. If you're not, that's okay too. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up in order from who makes the least to who makes the most, starting with our college students. And no, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. What I want to do is pray a prayer of blessing over you, a blessing over your finances. Not that you would make more money and be blessed beyond blessed, but that you would just be blessed in the way that you handle your money, and that God would use you well to accomplish his work and to fulfill his kingdom and his calling in your life by the way that we handle it. So let me pray over all of us. God, I pray over this room and everyone who's watching online. Lord, I pray blessings upon blessings upon blessings over them. God, that you would pour out your floodgates and provide for them, that their needs would be met and that they would see you in the middle of all of that. And as we each have our own little bit of riches above that, whether it's a little or a lot, God, I pray that we use those in a beautiful way for your purpose, for your good, to advance your kingdom and to see lives changed. God, help us to be wise stewards of our money. Help us to be wise in the way that we handle it. But God, I pray that you would bless us as we follow obediently the way you've called us to live. God, would we enjoy what you've given us? God, help us to enjoy every moment of it, to not suffer with discontentment, to get beyond that, but to turn our heart closer to you and to lean on you as our source, not money as our source. God, you are a source of hope and help and understanding, and you are the provider of all good things. So God, I pray that you provide these things to this church, that you provide these things to this community, and help us to be a light as we care for the people around us by the way that we handle what we've been given. God, we love you and we give you this in Jesus' name. Amen.